Hi, thank you for joining me. Lisa here. I did a demo on how I made this file folder card at the Card Swap. Here's an example I made to demo how I made it. It took more than a minute to try to explain how to make that envelope, so I made a video. Anyway, I had 2 scraps, 4 by 12 inches, left over from making 8 by 8 recipe cards, and I cut them down to be 4 inches by 10 inches. So that's what I'm doing there. Now they're 4 by 10. And at the 5-inch center mark, I'm going to score it lightly so I don't break through the paper like I did a few times. And that's just so it will fold nicely. You can probably do just as well with a bone folder. I just thought this would be the way to go. This cardstock was really thick. It's a Bazzill cardstock. It's a thick one. Okay, so I'm going to fold it on the score lines, trying to make it look nice, and the 2 pieces are exactly the same. Okay, this front cut's kind of tricky because you want 2 flaps in the front. So here I am cutting from the top of the fold to the bottom of the front on the right side. And I don't think you have to worry too much if your cardstock doesn't have a direction, if you can put either front side to the front. But this had a definite, one side was different than the other. And I wanted the front to be the same texture, so I had to make sure I had it lined up right. Anyway, I had my flaps done. And now I'm going to glue the backs together. The back of the card is actually 2 rectangles, totally overlapping, very thick in the back. And you want to be careful that you don't show the overlap because that back is going to show through. So anyway, there you go. The triangle's lined up pretty well. And here I'm just showing the card is 5 inches long by 4 inches high, and to cut your pattern paper the same size. And this is the second tricky cut. If you're using pattern paper that has 2 sides, this is so easy. You make 1 cut and you flip the paper over on one side, and it will fit on your card exactly. It gets tricky if you have pattern paper that's only one-sided, and the pattern does not go with white paper. So here I am, I just flipped over the paper and the back is pink. And that's just how we did in the Card Swap also, very easy. But these are 2 other scraps I had, and the backs are white and the fronts are cream colored. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to cut this rectangle in a diagonal, and I'll show you how it does not fit on the card. So here we go, pull the card out, one side fits great, the other side, uh-oh. Unless you want to have that white showing, and I did not. So I had 2 scraps, luckily, and I cut them in different directions. You wouldn't think it would matter, but it does. And now I have diagonal front pattern paper to make 2 cards with. So now you can make them look a little bit different by having different flaps in front, if that's any consolation. But there are my 3 card examples. Okay, this pink and brown paper, I do not even know the name of it. It's been in my scrap stash for years, and I'm surprised I even pulled it out for a project, so I don't know the name of it. But it was a very inky kind of distressed look paper, and it really required that to hold the style that I inked the edges. If I was using a clean pattern paper, I would not have inked everything. But the paper really did go that direction, so I inked everything. I inked all 3 sides of the triangles, and I inked the entire brown card. So I'm not the world's fastest inker. I cut us out there. Okay, time to start adhering things down. I'm going to glue down the first patterned piece of paper, that solid pink, and I'm going to make that my first flap, which will go under the second flap. So I'm going to line it up. There. Okay, now I need to glue that down and start making the envelope. So big honking piece of tape, glue it down. Now I'll glue down the second flap, and I went too far with the tape runner, it's showing. I need to take a few pieces off. That's okay, they came out, and now the envelope is made. So the last pattern paper has to go on. And here comes my dog Daisy. Hi Daisy. Okay, so I wasn't quite happy with how I have it lined up. I mostly preferred to line up the triangles, the diagonal line. Okay, I found out the Sizzix file folder 2 fit exactly into this card. I was so thrilled. So here I am using my Sizzix file folder number 2 and 2 B plates in my Cuttlebug, and I made a bunch of those inserts to make my cards with. And I'd say 95% of the time the Cuttlebug did just fine with my Sizzix die, but some, like maybe 1 or 2 times I didn't want to cut. I was kind of surprised. But it works pretty well. And I'm doing a test fit, and it fits great. It must be some standard size I don't know about. Anyway, I'm going to put a journal box on my tag for the inside of the card. Inside the card inside the envelope, however you want to say it. Cut it down to size. I'm just eyeballing it. And of course, because everything on the envelope is inked, I now have to ink everything that's going to be on the card on the inside also. So here I am. I'm using a brown chalk ink. I just happen to have it in the house. And I think if you heat set, you can stamp with it. So I've been pretty happy with it. I don't have a punch, so I'm going to use my file folder Sizzix die again to make a decorative tab for my file folder to match the envelope. And I'm happy enough with it, but of course everything's inked, so I have to ink that also. No big problem. Love those inventions for cat eyes. They sit right next to you while you're working. Now I'm going to tape that down. I guess I could have used pink, but I think the lines, because the file folder on the other side will look nicer. So I chose the lines. And I'm going to glue down my journal box, but you'll see in a bit I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd stamped it first. But I got around that. So I'm just eyeballing it. And I did not corner around it because everything on this card is kind of straight lined. So, okay, I want to stamp like I did in the card swap. And I have a Bo Bunny flourish stamp. And I'm using my brown chalk ink. And I want to stamp off the envelope, so I'm going to just put a scrap piece of paper there to keep my mat clean. And I'm a very slow stamper too, sorry about that. And actually, by the time I'm done, you can barely tell there's a flourish there, but you could barely tell in the swap either, and I liked the detail. So here I am masking off my journal box because I don't want the stamp on the brown on the card. So a little extra ink, and I'm going to position that stamp off the journal box to just have a hint of stamping on it. So happy enough. And it matches the envelope, everything matches. That little extra detail for the card. Okay, time to decorate the outside. I had this Scrappy's ribbon in my stash for at least 5 years from the store, when I had the store down here. And I have boys, I don't use pink that often, so I was very happy to use some pink ribbon today. I think I probably would have picked a more obvious ribbon that would show more, but this is paid for, right? So it's the best ribbon. And I'm going to show you some glue dots, and I'm just going to use a glue dot to keep my ribbon in place so it doesn't start falling down. That's a basil wing brad, a large brad that I bought at Scrapbook Etc. a while ago. And the flowers, my sons won, I took them to a scrapbook class to do their photos, and they won a grab bag, but of course they don't use flowers, so I got the flowers. So I assume they're basil because I got them from Scrapbook Etc. But anyway, I had them for a couple of years. I'm also glad to be using those. I can't believe I had all this stuff in my house ready to work with. That kind of blew my mind. All right, and there's the finished card. And there's the inside journal tag or greeting, whatever you want to put there. And of course I made more example file folder cards. That's a fall-based one with some scrap paper I had. And I did some stamping and coloring with colored pencils. I got the flowers and the butterflies at Dollar Tree. I already had the basil buttons. And that is from Hot Off the Press. They had a workshop ephemera book that I cut some things out of. So thank you for joining me. Have a great day, everybody.